Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing the Corsair M55 RGB Pro. The M55 is a medium-sized ambidextrous mouse with side buttons on both sides. The shape is basically a bulkier Zowie S2. They're about the same length from top to bottom and have a similar grip width, but the hump on the M55 is bigger and the back is noticeably wider, about 7 centimeters, whereas on the S2 it's about 6.5 centimeters. The top is wider and comes down sharp on these sides, and the S2 is slimmer and curves down, so there's no sharp angles, which I think is more comfortable. I also like the placement of the side buttons on the S2 more. They're just above my thumb, so I barely have to move my thumb to press them, whereas on the M55 they're on the edge. It's personal preference. Some people prefer the extra thumb room, some people prefer easier to reach side buttons. The S2 has subtle comfort grooves in the buttons, but on the M55 there are no comfort grooves. The left and right buttons have a medium weight to them and have a pretty satisfying click. The side buttons feel decent, but the top ones have a slight rattle. The scroll wheel is easy to press in, but it feels cheap and the steps are not well defined. It also rattles when I shake the mouse, which I don't notice when I'm playing, but it's worth mentioning. The sensor is a Pixart 3327, which is the same sensor as the HyperX Pulsefire Core, but this one has a much higher liftoff distance. The sensor tracks on 3 DVDs on a cloth pad, which is way too high for me. I prefer my liftoff distance around 1 DVD. You can put tape over the sensor to lower it, but I wish you could change it in the software. Other than the liftoff distance, the sensor feels fine, it tracks well and doesn't spin out even when I tilt slam it. The top is a rough matte plastic which feels decent, and the sides are textured rubber which feels cheap. The rubber is hard and personally I don't like the texture. I wish they went with the plastic they used on the top on the sides as well. The weight is about 92 grams with some cable, but it feels heavier, which I'll get into later. The build quality is okay. When I tap on the mouse, the DPI button rattles, which I personally don't mind. And like I mentioned earlier, the scroll wheel rattles when I shake the mouse, and the top side buttons have a slight rattle. The mouse feet are okay, just standard stock feet. For the software, I'm not a fan of the layout, but it has some basic features. There's actions where you can add macros, lighting effects where you can change the lighting, but it's only the logo, so there's not much you can do with it. DPI where you can change your DPI from 200 to 12,400 in steps of 100. And performance is just the pointer speed. If you go to settings, and I'm not sure why these are in settings and not under the tabs on the left, but you can enable left-handed mode, enable all side buttons, change the pulling rate, and change the brightness of the lighting. The packaging is very basic. The box has nothing but the mouse and the manual. And the price is $40 US and $60 Canadian. Now for the worst part, the cable. This is going to be a deal breaker for a lot of people, including me. The cable is horrible. While other companies are moving towards paracords and wireless, some companies use nice and flexible braided cables, or at least decent rubber cables. Corsair is still using these stiff, braided cables that feel like garbage. I play on a pretty low sensitivity, and every time I move my mouse, I can feel the resistance and the weight of the cable, and I can't play properly with it. Overall, I think the shape is fine and the buttons are decent, but I don't like the rubber sides, the scroll wheel, the top side buttons have a slight rattle, the liftoff distance is extremely high, which you can fix with some tape, but like I said, I wish you could do it in the software, and I hate the cable. Even though the mouse weighs 92 grams, it feels a lot heavier because of the cable. Here's my G900, which weighs 107 grams, and personally, I would much rather use a 107 gram wireless mouse than a 92 gram mouse with a bad cable. I would definitely like it a lot better if I paracorded it, but paracord prices right now are about $30 Canadian for me, so it's just not worth it. If the mouse had plastic sides, a better scroll wheel, an adjustable lift-off distance, and most importantly a better cable, I would definitely recommend it to a lot of people. But as it is right now, I can only recommend it if you're on a low budget, you need side buttons on both sides, you don't mind a stiff cable or you're willing to paracord it, you don't mind the weight, you don't need a scroll wheel with well-defined steps, you don't mind the extremely high lift-off distance or you're willing to put tape on your mouse, you don't mind the rubber sides, and you have medium to large hands. So that's it for the review. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have any questions or comments, leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.